I want to talk to you today about something invisible, something you can't touch, but something that moves the world: motivation. It's not something you're born with, it's something you build, and building it isn't about hacks or hustle. It's about understanding where it really comes from and what it takes to protect it. Staying motivated isn't about pretending things are always great. It's about being brutally honest with yourself about what matters and committing to it, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's hard, especially when no one's watching. It's about learning to work with uncertainty and not run from discomfort. Here's the truth no one wants to say out loud: motivation isn't constant. It's not a battery you charge once and forget. It fades, it burns out, and then it comes back. But only if you know how to feed it. People who stay motivated don't wait for perfect moods. They build systems around their purpose. They create meaning where others see monotony. Your vision has to be bigger than your obstacles. Otherwise, you'll quit when it gets uncomfortable. And it always gets uncomfortable, but the discomfort isn't the enemy. It's the gateway. Every breakthrough is born from pushing through a wall you once thought was permanent. You have to know why you're doing this. Not in a cliché kind of way, not a line for your resume, a reason that sits deep in your chest, a reason that makes you feel something when everyone else feels nothing. That kind of clarity cuts through noise. That kind of clarity keeps you going at 3 a.m. That kind of clarity doesn't need external applause. And maybe the most important part: motivation is personal, but it's not isolated. You have to surround yourself with energy that fuels you, not drains you. People who challenge your limits, people who believe in the version of you that you're building, not just the one you are now. Motivation is not magic. It's a decision, a daily one. It's not something that finds you. It's something you return to relentlessly. Motivation is not an unlimited resource. It depletes and requires consistent renewal. Unlike a permanent personality trait, motivation functions more like a dynamic system. It rises and falls based on input, environment, and mindset. Those who maintain high levels of motivation over time are not lucky. They are intentional. They design internal and external frameworks that support and regenerate their drive. The misconception that motivation is something you either have or don't have leads people to give up too early. When you treat it as a skill, you approach it with the discipline and structure necessary to sustain it. Motivation begins with a decision, not a feeling. The act of showing up when you don't feel like it is a muscle that strengthens over time. Just as muscles respond to resistance by growing stronger, motivation builds through repetition in difficult moments. The more often you act despite low energy or doubt, the more you condition your identity around being someone who follows through. Over time, this identity takes hold and becomes your default setting. You become someone who doesn't need a spark to start because you've trained yourself to move first and let the emotion catch up later. Daily routines play a critical role in the architecture of motivation. When actions become habitual, they no longer require excessive willpower to begin. Willpower is a finite resource, but habits are automated. This is why even the most driven individuals rely on structure. Morning rituals, intentional work blocks, recovery time. These aren't luxuries, they're necessities. They remove friction between you and what matters. They reduce the cognitive load of decision making. In a system built around your goals, motivation is no longer a requirement for action. It's a byproduct of momentum. Tracking progress creates feedback loops that reinforce motivation. Small wins create psychological rewards. They send a signal to your brain that you are capable, effective, and moving forward. This feeling of progress is addictive in the best possible way, but it doesn't happen on its own. It must be engineered, whether through journaling, visual trackers, or milestone markers. The act of seeing tangible evidence of growth fuels the belief that continued effort is worthwhile. Belief is the engine. Action is the fuel. Progress is the proof. Motivation is also connected to emotional resilience. You can't stay motivated if you expect everything to go your way. Failures, setbacks, delays, these are not interruptions, they are part of the pattern. Accepting this truth allows you to prepare for adversity instead of being derailed by it. The most consistent performers don't avoid hard moments. They anticipate them, normalize them, and keep moving through them. They learn to separate their sense of self-worth from outcomes. They know motivation doesn't require perfect result, only consistent effort and reflection. Your internal dialogue shapes the quality of your motivation. Self-talk isn't fluff, it's programming. When the inner voice says, "You can't," or "This is pointless," your body follows that command. But when the dialogue shifts to, "This matters," or "You've done hard things before," the system realigns. Affirmations are not magic, they are directives. The more your language affirms commitment over comfort, the more your motivation stabilizes in the face of uncertainty. Every thought is a micro investment in your belief system, and belief is the foundation of motivation. Learning to rest without guilt sustains long-term motivation. Burnout is not a badge of honor, it's a signal that your motivational system has been stretched too thin without recovery. Hyper-forming individuals don't operate at full throttle all the time. They cycle between intensity and renewal. Strategic rest, reflection, and even boredom have a role in reigniting creative drive. The absence of rest leads to resentment toward the very goals that once inspired you. The presence of rest renews enthusiasm and extends the lifespan of your discipline. Motivation also feeds off purpose, but purpose must be revisited often. The human brain forgets what it's fighting for when it's overwhelmed by urgency, deadlines, and distractions. That's why rituals of reconnection matter. Reading your vision statement, watching a speech that once moved you, looking at the photo of a mentor or loved one. These rituals reconnect your short-term actions to your long-term meaning. Without meaning, even the most exciting goals feel empty. With meaning, even mundane tasks take on significance. Ultimately, staying motivated over time requires a shift from emotion-based action to principle-based behavior. Principles outlast moods. They give you a reason to move forward when passion fades. If your motivation is based on excitement, you'll stop when the novelty wears off. If it's based on identity and values, you'll continue, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's invisible to others. When motivation is treated as a system you build, not a gift you wait for, it becomes as reliable as your commitment to maintain it. Purpose acts as the compass that directs motivation toward a meaningful destination. Without a defined purpose, effort scatters. Tasks feel random, energy feels wasted, and motivation fades. But when purpose is clear, motivation doesn't need to be forced. It becomes a natural extension of your values. It pulls you forward. It answers the question, "Why am I doing this?" before resistance even shows up. External rewards, like money, status, recognition, can spark action, but they rarely sustain it. Once the excitement of the reward wears off, so does the effort. Purpose is different. It stays when applause stops. It remains steady when external validation disappears. It provides intrinsic fuel, the kind that doesn't burn out. The most motivated people are rarely chasing shiny things. They're pursuing impact, progress, growth, something internal that isn't dependent on anyone else noticing. When motivation is rooted in purpose, failure becomes feedback, not a verdict. You're no longer obsessed with being perfect. You're obsessed with becoming better. You take ownership of the process, not just the outcome. This shift reduces anxiety and increases resilience. It keeps you grounded when outcomes fluctuate, because the reason you're doing the work is larger than short-term metrics. You stop chasing and start committing. Clarity of purpose simplifies decision-making. When you know what matters most, saying no becomes easier. You no longer need to overthink every opportunity because you're filtering them through a mission. Motivation thrives under simplicity. Complexity leads to paralysis. Purpose removes the clutter. It shows you where to go and what to ignore. It brings focus, and with focus comes momentum. A strong sense of purpose aligns your daily actions with your long-term vision. Small tasks that once seemed boring become essential parts of something bigger. Purpose gives those tasks meaning. Repetitive practice becomes a tool for mastery. Uncomfortable conversations become acts of courage. Every moment becomes connected to a larger narrative. This connection multiplies motivation because you feel progress, even in the smallest details. Purpose is not static. It evolves with self-awareness. The deeper you explore what truly matters to you, the stronger your motivation becomes. Surface-level goals can be shaken by doubt. Deep purpose remains solid because it's rooted in lived experience and inner truth. Self-inquiry, reflection, and journaling are tools to sharpen that clarity. You must revisit and refine your purpose regularly. It's not one big discovery. It's a lifelong conversation with yourself. Motivation built on purpose outlasts the need for hype or inspiration. You don't need someone to fire you up when you already understand what's at stake. The work becomes its own reward. The progress itself becomes energizing. You start to recognize that motivation isn't about waiting for a lightning bolt. It's about anchoring yourself in something unshakable, and that anchor is your purpose. People who operate with purpose are harder to distract. Shiny opportunities that don't align with their mission get filtered out quickly. This discipline builds a clean, uninterrupted path of focus. Focus creates velocity. You're not starting over every few months because of boredom or burnout. You stay the course, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Purpose makes the discomfort worth it. Having a defined purpose also attracts the right kind of people. When you're clear about why you do what you do, others who share that alignment show up. Collaboration becomes easier. Culture forms organically. Purpose acts like a magnet for others who are serious about similar goals. Motivation multiplies when it's shared with others who carry the same fire. A team of purpose-driven people can outperform a crowd of uninspired talent every time. Purpose protects you from quitting too early. When motivation is based on trends or moods, setbacks feel like stop signs. But when it's anchored in purpose, setbacks become detours. You keep going, not because it's painless, but because stopping would feel like betrayal. Purpose gives you something to stand for. When you stand for something, you can withstand anything. Knowing your why turns effort into devotion. It transforms repetition into refinement. It reframes fatigue as a signal that you're invested, not exhausted. It redefines obstacles as part of the agreement, not exceptions to it. You begin to expect the challenges, and you meet them with resolve, not resentment. The most powerful motivation is not built on hype, pressure, or urgency. It's built on clarity, and clarity comes from knowing what you stand for. When you know your purpose, you don't just work harder. You work smarter, deeper, and longer. You stop sprinting in circles and start building something that lasts. Curiosity is the ignition switch for sustained motivation. It doesn't ask, "What should I do?" It asks, "What could happen if I try this?" That question unlocks movement. Curiosity is not about having all the answers. It's about being eager to explore the unknown. When motivation dips, curiosity keeps you in motion. It reframes tasks from chores into experiments, from obligations into opportunities to learn something new. Instead of fearing failure, curiosity views failure as data. It shifts your mindset from fixed outcomes to fluid possibilities. When you're motivated by curiosity, you're not fixated on being right. You're interested in discovering what's next. This reduces perfectionism, which often paralyzes progress. Curiosity gives you permission to test, pivot, and grow. It transforms risk into play, not pressure. Curiosity makes boredom nearly impossible. The most routine activity, approached with a curious lens, becomes a source of insight. The question, "What haven't I noticed here before?" activates attention. The moment you observe something fresh, the brain wakes up, and once your mind is awake, so is your motivation. Curiosity is a renewable source of fuel. It never burns out because there's always more to discover. Children are masters of curiosity. They touch, test, question, build, and break. They're not concerned with outcomes. They're engaged with the process. That natural energy fades in adults, not because it disappears, but because it gets buried under expectations and the fear of looking foolish. Reclaiming curiosity means giving yourself permission to not know. It means replacing judgment with exploration. Motivation that depends on rewards is fragile. Motivation sparked by curiosity is resilient. It doesn't wait for ideal conditions. It thrives in uncertainty. You don't need the path to be clear when your mindset is wired to ask, "What happens if I keep going?" That question alone is a motivator. It transforms ambiguity into possibility. It's not about pushing harder, it's about engaging deeper. The most innovative breakthroughs often begin with a question that seems obvious or even naive. What if we did it differently? Why does it work that way? What happens if we try this? These are curiosity-driven questions. They move us beyond routine. They challenge assumptions. They open space for motivation to return when predictability has dulled the edge of engagement. When you allow curiosity to guide your actions, failure loses its power to discourage you. You begin to see setbacks as part of the journey, not signs to stop. You investigate the failure rather than avoid it. You learn faster. You adapt quicker. You stay engaged because the desire to understand outweighs the discomfort of stumbling. Motivation gains endurance when learning becomes more important than being flawless. Curiosity also has a multiplying effect. It creates momentum. One new insight leads to another question. One unexpected result sparks a follow-up experiment. You're no longer dragging yourself forward. You're being pulled forward by the excitement of the unknown. That kind of momentum is contagious. People who are curious attract others who want to be part of something alive, flexible, and evolving. Asking better questions becomes a skill. Instead of asking, "Why isn't this working?" you ask, "What's another angle I haven't tried?" Instead of wondering, "How long will this take?" you wonder, "What can I learn while I'm in it?" These questions are practical but powerful. They keep the brain in an active state. They stop the spiral of stagnation and fuel a steady hum of interest. Leaders and creators who stay curious stay relevant. They don't cling to how it's always been done. They poke at the edges. They test new theories. They listen more than they speak. They aren't afraid of appearing uncertain because they know curiosity is more valuable than certainty. It creates flexibility, and flexibility keeps motivation from becoming rigid or routine. Curiosity expands your perspective. Instead of seeing a dead end, you see a design flaw. Instead of interpreting silence as rejection, you wonder what else might be influencing the delay. This perspective shift preserves your energy. It keeps you from quitting prematurely. You stay in the process not because it's predictable, but because you believe the next layer of discovery might change everything. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room to be the most curious. You just need to keep asking the next question. That discipline alone can generate more motivation than talent or experience. When you're truly curious, you're never stuck. You're just between breakthroughs. Every obstacle becomes a potential puzzle. Every delay becomes a deeper inquiry. That mindset keeps the internal flame alive, even when results aren't immediate. Discipline is the foundation upon which motivation builds lasting success. While bursts of enthusiasm can propel you forward temporarily, it is discipline that sustains progress when motivation wanes. Discipline is not about punishment or rigidity. It is the consistent practice of aligning your actions with your goals, regardless of mood or circumstance. It transforms good intentions into tangible results by creating a reliable structure within which motivation can thrive. The essence of discipline lies in routine creating habits that become automatic responses rather than decisions that require constant willpower. The more you embed productive behaviors into your daily rhythm, the less you rely on fleeting feelings of inspiration. This automaticity conserves mental energy, freeing your mind to focus on the creative and strategic aspects of your work instead of wrestling with whether or not to start. Discipline also means prioritizing the important over the urgent. In a world flooded with distractions, it is easy to lose sight of what truly moves you forward. A disciplined mindset allows you to say no to low-value activities that drain your energy and yes to the focused work that builds momentum. This selective attention enhances motivation because it channels your efforts toward meaningful outcomes rather than scattering them across trivial tasks. Self-discipline cultivates resilience. When faced with setbacks, it is discipline that keeps you showing up, even when progress seems invisible. Motivation can fade in the face of failure or frustration, but discipline provides the steady hand that guides you through tough times. It builds mental toughness, allowing you to persevere beyond the initial excitement and into the realm of mastery where true achievement lies. Building discipline is a gradual process that starts with small wins. Establishing simple, achievable goals creates a sense of accomplishment, which reinforces the habit loop. Each completed task becomes a building block that supports bigger challenges. Over time, these consistent actions accumulate into significant progress, creating a feedback cycle where discipline breeds motivation and motivation reinforces discipline. Discipline also enhances your ability to manage distractions and temptations. In an era dominated by instant gratification and constant connectivity, staying focused requires conscious effort. Discipline helps you set boundaries, whether it's limiting social media use, scheduling deep work sessions, or maintaining physical health through regular exercise and sleep. These boundaries create the optimal conditions for sustained motivation, as a clear mind and healthy body are more capable of maintaining energy and enthusiasm. Another critical aspect of discipline is self-accountability. Holding yourself responsible for your commitments nurtures a sense of integrity and trust in your own capabilities. When you consistently follow through, you reinforce your self-confidence, which in turn fuels motivation. Conversely, breaking commitments erodes confidence and drains enthusiasm. Discipline is the bridge between intention and execution. ensuring that your vision materializes into action. Discipline is closely tied to time management. Effective use of time is essential to maintaining motivation because it prevents overwhelm and procrastination. By planning your day with deliberate intention, allocating focused blocks of time to priority tasks, you reduce decision fatigue and maintain momentum. Discipline ensures that you stick to these plans, even when distractions or excuses arise. Importantly, discipline does not mean ignoring your emotional or physical needs. It requires a balanced approach that recognizes when to push forward and when to rest. Overworking can lead to burnout, which kills motivation in the long run. A disciplined person knows that rest, reflection, and self-care are integral parts of a sustainable effort. This holistic approach to discipline maintains motivation by preserving your overall well-being. Discipline also helps you navigate uncertainty and delayed gratification. Many meaningful goals don't yield immediate results, and maintaining motivation during this waiting period can be challenging. Discipline anchors you in the process rather than the outcome, allowing you to find satisfaction in consistent effort. This mindset transforms waiting from a frustrating limbo into a productive phase of growth and preparation. As discipline strengthens, it creates a positive identity shift. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who is reliable and capable. This identity shift is powerful because it aligns your self-perception with your actions, reinforcing motivation. You don't just do the work because you want results. You do it because it reflects who you are. In environments where motivation is low or external support is limited, discipline becomes even more crucial. It acts as an internal compass that keeps you on course when external encouragement or validation is absent. By cultivating discipline, you build autonomy over your motivation, making it less dependent on external factors and more rooted in your own values and commitments. Ultimately, discipline transforms motivation from a fleeting emotion into a sustainable force. It provides the structure, focus, and resilience necessary to turn aspirations into achievements. Without discipline, motivation may spark, but it rarely endures. With discipline, motivation becomes a reliable companion on the journey toward excellence. Purpose acts as the guiding light that fuels motivation through every challenge and setback. When your actions are anchored in a clear sense of purpose, motivation becomes not just about short-term gains or external rewards, but about aligning with something deeply meaningful. Purpose provides context. It answers the question of why you do what you do, which is essential when the path ahead is uncertain or difficult. Understanding your purpose is more than identifying a goal. It is about connecting to the impact your work has on yourself and others. Purpose gives your effort significance beyond the immediate task. It shifts motivation from superficial satisfaction to a more profound commitment to growth, contribution, or transformation. When you are motivated by purpose, you're driven not only by personal ambition, but by the desire to make a difference or fulfill a calling. Having a strong sense of purpose influences how you frame challenges. Obstacles become opportunities to strengthen your resolve rather than reasons to give up. Purpose-driven motivation is less susceptible to distractions or temporary failures because the stakes feel bigger than individual moments of difficulty. It transforms perseverance into a natural response rather than a forced effort. Purpose also fosters intrinsic motivation, the internal drive that comes from finding joy and fulfillment in the activity itself. Unlike extrinsic motivation, which relies on rewards or recognition, intrinsic motivation is self-sustaining. When your purpose resonates with your values and passions, motivation flourishes because the work itself becomes rewarding. This alignment between what you do and who you are creates a powerful synergy that propels consistent effort. Purpose-driven motivation tends to be more resilient over time. In moments when enthusiasm fades or external conditions become challenging, the underlying purpose provides a steady anchor. This sense of meaning gives you a reason to keep moving forward, even when the immediate outcomes are unclear or slow to materialize. It encourages patience, persistence, and a long-term perspective. Clarifying your purpose requires introspection and honesty. It's about asking yourself fundamental questions. What matters most to me? What kind of legacy do I want to leave? How do my talents and passions intersect with the needs of the world? Answering these questions helps create a purpose statement that can guide your daily actions and decisions, ensuring they align with your deeper motivations. Purpose also acts as a filter for decision-making. When faced with choices or distractions, a clear purpose helps you prioritize actions that support your core mission. This focused approach conserves energy and maintains motivation by eliminating activities that do not contribute to your purpose. It sharpens your focus, helping you say no to the irrelevant and yes to what truly matters. Connecting with a purpose greater than yourself can also enhance motivation by fostering a sense of belonging and contribution. When your work serves others, whether your community, organization, or a global cause, it creates a powerful feedback loop of gratitude, responsibility, and motivation. This connection reminds you that your efforts ripple outward, adding weight and meaning to your daily grind. Purpose-driven individuals often experience heightened creativity and innovation because they are motivated to find solutions that advance their mission. They are less likely to settle for mediocrity because their work is tied to a vision that demands excellence. This high standard sustains motivation by continually challenging you to improve and grow. Moreover, purpose inspires leadership and influence. When you act from purpose, you naturally attract others who share your values and vision. This alignment creates collaborative energy and collective motivation, amplifying the impact of your efforts. Leading with purpose means motivating not only yourself, but inspiring others to join in meaningful work. Purpose is not static. It evolves as you grow and learn. Revisiting and refining your purpose keeps motivation fresh and relevant. Life's experiences may shift your perspective, revealing new passions or deeper commitments. Embracing this evolution allows your motivation to adapt and expand rather than stagnate. Finally, purpose integrates with other motivational factors like curiosity, discipline, and resilience. It acts as the foundation on which these qualities build. For example, discipline becomes easier to maintain when it serves a clearly defined purpose. Curiosity thrives when it explores aspects of your mission. Resilience is strengthened when setbacks are seen as necessary steps toward fulfilling a meaningful goal. In essence, purpose transforms motivation from a fleeting spark into a sustaining force. It connects your daily actions to a bigger picture, making effort feel worthwhile and setbacks bearable. Purpose gives motivation its direction, intensity, and endurance, turning aspiration into meaningful achievement.